Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your mid-December 2022 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here. So happy birthday to all of you who are born in the first half of December. That includes moi and my partner, and he and I are a day apart, but we're a decade difference. We have a decade's difference between us, so it's kind of interesting, when you have a number of years between you, because you have that similarity, but you also have a different frame of reference. So, anywho, okay. And it's a situation where, as we end this year, we face this kind of a review of sorts. I think I'll probably, when I do the end of the month readings, I will do something. Maybe I'll tailor a special spread for looking at what this year has brought. Okay. Well, the first thing I wanted to say is that there are a couple of difficult cards emotionally as we get in the heart of the matter. Is the Five of Cups, and this is a card of mourning the loss of something. And this is in the central position, so that's what made me think of the year in review. And not this year, but a couple of years ago, there was, I remember reading under somebody else's video, something about, I think it was when Jupiter was in Sagittarius, or maybe it was, at the end of that transit, people were saying, oh my God, this was such a bad year. It was so difficult. Like, it was supposed to be so good. And I remember thinking something similar to that. Yeah, right. What happened there? And it's a very interesting thing, because that kind of thing happens sometimes. So there might be something that you're looking at that didn't go the way that you wanted. And when I look at the past position, I see the Temperance card, and this is actually our card. I don't know if that's that doesn't really necessarily resonate with me in terms of what it represents. The Wheel of Fortune seems more like it to me, because it's connected to Jupiter, and it just seems more like a Sag kind of a thing. But yeah, and the angel has one foot in the water, one foot on land, and it's kind of that balance between the spiritual and the material. And so what I think about the Five of Cups in terms of, mourning the loss of something is, I think sometimes Sages are very idealistic, and things don't always go to plan. And also, if somebody has betrayed you in some way, that might feel, or see, because I have here as the challenge card, the Three of Swords, and this can be some kind of a third party situation, and there can be a feeling of rejection if any of you have been in a situation where a love relationship didn't work out. And I do want to stress that it doesn't have to be that you had somebody break up with you. This could be you doing it out of a need to feel that sense of wholeness. I feel like with the Temperance card, you may have recently gotten your life back into balance. For some people, it might even be sobriety that has made you see things in a lot clearer way. If you have anybody who passed away in your life, there might have been kind of mixed feelings about interpreting it as abandonment, even if you're an adult. That feeling of, why did that person have to go now? And thinking that it was something that you did in a like an energetic way, which of course it isn't. So there's some difficult emotions that are at the core of this reading. So I don't know if anyone identifies with this, resonates with this. I'm thinking about myself. This is a general reading, obviously. And I wouldn't say that this is at the core of how I feel at the moment. So I don't know if I would agree with that. But I think that sometimes these can be issues from the past that are still active in your vibration. So maybe this is the death of a parent or other loved one that took place years ago, that maybe because of the holidays or your birthday, it comes out and you're kind of like triggered in a sense. And especially if you have gotten sober and you were trying to mask your pain and now you're feeling it, then you kind of bring it up to the surface, which is not a bad thing at all, actually. And, we have had some triggers to the 12th house with Scorpio eclipses. And I would say both the solar and the lunar eclipses can have that effect because it's 12th house. So it can be things that are deeply repressed. The higher message is the Two of Wands. And this is a card of, this is like looking at what is really the takeaway from all of this. And it can be that you need to make a choice, and this is involving your expansion. And I don't know if you can see this, but he's holding like a globe in his hand, and that means that it might even be like relocation, because it kind of stimulates you. Not that you're trying to use that as an excuse, like that's going to be some kind of quick fix for anything. But it's I heard someone else, some other astrologer, describe that every time you move, it raises your vibration. I don't know if I believe that, but I do think that that feeling of expansion can definitely help you to kind of like get out of a rut, if you've been feeling that way. But only if it's intentional. If people are just doing it to kind of escape, then I don't think it works as well that way. For some people, this might even have to do with some kind of choice, career matters, because that's what the wands relate to fire, which is Sag energy, but some kind of a choice between two careers, maybe. And for some people, if the Temperance card can mean that maybe you went too much in one direction, and I would wager that would be more in the material direction. We have the Devil card right under the Temperance card. In other words, choosing a career based on how much money it pays, rather than whether or not you feel like it's what you came here to do, what your talents are, what your even your morals or your beliefs. Sagittarius is a very moralistic sign, and moralistic, I think, kind of means is not a good thing necessarily. It can be kind of preachy, so that's probably not the word I want to use, but it is a sign that's connected to, what is right and what is wrong, because it's associated with religion and dogma and philosophy. So a lot of Sages, whether they realize it or not, tend to have like a very deep philosophy about their life. And yet, the ruler of Sag is Jupiter, and that can really make Sagittarius want to have the ability to buy things that they want without having to think about them. And, materialism isn't really always the goal, or the thing that is the catalyst. It can be just that freedom that money. And with the Three of Swords, it could be even a situation where you've already been feeling like you're misaligned with what you're doing. And maybe for some of you, you're grieving the loss of your job. But if you really think about it, and you're feeling rejected by it with that Three of Swords, but when you really think about it, it's not how you characterize it. It's really about the universe trying to help you. You know how they've been saying things like, it's not, why is this happening to me, but why is this happening for me? And I know those kind of new agey sayings get overused, and then they sound like cliches and things like that. But the bottom line is that they still hold a truth that can, like, if you say it to yourself, it can really resonate. So looking at it from that angle, and really, when you, like, for instance, if you have lost your job, and December is a time when people, this reading is intended for the first half of the month. So, this might have been something that occurred to you in November when there was a lunar eclipse in your 6th house of work. And maybe that was a time when it was like you got laid off or something like that. But, whatever happened, if something like that happened, remember that you tell yourself a story about what this means. So it might have nothing to do with your ability to do your job, whether or not you were important to the company, but it might have been just one of those things that they had to do, or other things, other factors like some kind of favoritism. It might be something that person who had the power to make that decision chose somebody else based on totally unrelated criteria. And that kind of thing is really difficult. What I'm trying to say is it's difficult not to feel rejected when you get laid off. It's easy to jump to conclusions or just to feel not good about it. But when you really get down to the nitty-gritty, you may find out that the universe did a major favor to you. What's coming in is the Devil card. Looking at how you are enslaved. In some cases, I know that's a dramatic word. For those of you Sagittarius who are still working someplace and maybe you didn't get a promotion, it doesn't have to be a job loss. Maybe you didn't get a promotion and it's time for you to even choose a different field, because it's the very field that you're in might not be harmonious with you anymore. I always wanted to be a teacher from the time I was little. And I went back to school in my 30s. I was a teacher's assistant, and this was like 20 years ago. And I noticed that things had changed. And that was 20 years ago. I can't even imagine what it's like today. And I finally had to admit to myself that my dream was based on what I experienced in the 70s, not what was like happening at that time. And it was like a completely diluted situation, which is understandable because we, can get very caught up in something. So you might be grieving for more than the loss of a promotion, so just think about what that means to you and what that bondage could symbolize, because it's going to be different for everybody, and it doesn't mean that you can't break those bonds. It's just that some people, they come from a background where they might not have had many material resources, and that's just something that was kind of built into them to fear material lack, even though they don't have to, or it's no longer a threat, or they just overdid it, they overemphasized it in their life. And the outcome is the King of Cups, and this is a card, I always think of the cards of royalty, the kings and queens, as the highest manifestation of these of the element that they represent. And the cups relate to water signs. So with the king, there is, I think, I'm trying to remember if the king is associated with the earth element, but I always think about it in terms of that kind of embodiment of the material at the highest level, but then talking about the spiritual. So some of you might be going into that kind of work, and it's not just about the healing arts, but maybe art, like you're doing some kind of creative self-expression that you want to bring to a wider audience. You want to make that your career even. And so perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. If anything that has happened that has been disappointing to you in that area, when it comes to relationships, if you are mourning the loss of a relationship, there could be somebody waiting in the wings, or somebody around you who is like the King of Cups. Maybe it is a water sign, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer, but it's a king, so it's like an emotionally mature person, not somebody that's playing games, and not somebody that is emotionally self-centered, manipulative, what have you. And this person can, open your heart again, because with the Five of Cups, you may have kind of closed that heart chakra because you feel that sense of dejection that the Three of Swords represents. But remember that swords relate to thoughts, and it's what you tell yourself that matters. It's not actually what happens, but what you tell yourself about what happens. And if you create this narrative that this means something about you, then of course it's going to, that's how you're going to receive it and perceive it. So you have to flip the script. So that's what I have for you, Sag. I know that that doesn't seem like very light and fluffy for Sag season, but especially with those of you who are born in the last days of Sag, or even leading up to your solar return, the sun is in your 12th house, and you might be excavating. You might be clearing out those cobwebs so that you can embark upon your new solar season. So sometimes it's, like they say, it's darkest before the dawn. So anyway, that's what I have for you. If you'd like a private reading, I'm promoting my 2023 transits, an hour-long recording of transits in your natal chart that are important for you to consider. And this is different than my YouTube readings because it is for your exact chart, not just kind of a general forecast. And of course, it's an hour long instead, and that's a special price. I also have a double reading that is at a special price called my Deep Dive reading, which is an hour of natal chart interpretation with an hour of transits as well. For a special price, you can find out more information about all my readings at the link below. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.